Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Alyssa Corum and Ed Carson here on this Monday, and today we're going to look at all three of the major indexes. And Ed, how's it going? Give us a rundown of the three stocks we're going to be taking a look at.
Good afternoon, Allie. We're going to take a look at Dow giant Nike, which broke out today, Black Knight, which also cleared a buy point, and Insulet, one of those diabetes products makers that really sold off today.
Perfect. But first, a look at the major indexes, starting off with the chart of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, outpacing the gains today, up 1.3%, while the S&P 500 finished up 0.3%, and the NASDAQ lagging today, down 0.4%. So definitely the outperformance for the Dow notable today.
Yeah, the Dow really had a strong day. You can see it sort of cleared a little resistance area. S&P did something similar a week or so ago, or a week or two ago, and a lot of stocks that were strong. Caterpillar, Apple. I mean, there's a lot of things in there. A lot of industrials and old economy stocks had a really strong day, which is encouraging in a way. If the NASDAQ sort of goes sideways for a little while, and if you can get the Dow and S&P to move higher, that's pretty positive.
Yeah, so let's just check in on the three of those. We'll take a look at SPY for the S&P, like you mentioned, a breakout here the other week and just continuing to climb higher. And the NASDAQ,
and
also
you mentioned, it's almost at the new high. It's like less than 2%, and it's just sort of creeping up there. Yeah.
Yeah, so a magnet for those highs, as we've been talking about on IBD Live. And here we have the NASDAQ, so down a little bit today, but still holding above that 10-day line. And we did see it at one point up 7 sessions in a row. So, not a bad thing if you take a step back.
We're near record highs still on the NASDAQ. And yeah, some high flyers have pulled back, but this is sort of natural. There's, you really look at the indexes, it's still looking pretty good.
And now let's take a look underneath the surface, kicking things off with a look at Nike, which broke out today. And we had a gain of about 3.5% above average volume here, Ed. And it's rallying as Foot Locker said Q2 same-store sales jumped some 18%. Now, we did notice this lagging relative strength line, but talk to us about how that might figure into the calculation here of what happened today.
Yeah, normally when you see the RS line lagging, that reflects its performance versus the S&P 500. That's not a great sign. I mean, obviously, tech stocks have been really strong. But if you are seeing a rotation out of those tech stocks into maybe slower growing and more industrials, consumer stocks like Nike, you can expect that at first when they make their move, their RS lines are going to be lagging because they haven't been leading. But that can happen sometimes. So in this case, not as big of a deal. Obviously, it's always great when they are outperforming, but Nike breaking out, it was stock of the day. We added it to leaderboard today. So it's definitely, some nice performance here, because we're seeing more of these stocks perform well.
Yeah, and I like the big bump in volume here and looking at the annual estimates moving forward, some nice acceleration. So also good to keep that in mind. And now pivoting over to Black Knight, ticker BKI, also breaking out today, up 3%. And this one, I will say, it did come pretty well off of those intraday highs, Ed, but it did finish still within that 5% buy zone. What's your take?
Yeah, the daily range wasn't great, though. It's a little better if you think of from where it started on Friday, but still not great. But, a software maker breaking out today, sort of bucking the trend, but this is one that works in the mortgage industry. And housing has been one of the leading areas. Again, one of the first areas outside of tech to sort of come on as you sort of see that gradual rotation. So this is obviously riding that avenue. Better than expected earnings. So, not the greatest situation, but it also just shows you that, you should be getting wide screens. On IBD Live today, we talked about this one, but also Mike Webster was talking generally, just get some pretty loose and wide screens to make sure you're capturing all the movement and see where maybe the new emerging strength is.
Yeah, that'll help you find where those breakouts are happening. But as you're mentioning, give you a sense of what's really going on in the market. Is this something isolated, or is it a whole group that things are really starting to pivot and change? And last but not least, we're checking in on Insulet, ticker PODD. Some wild action here, Ed. Downside reversal on Friday and more losses today with another downside reversal, down 6%. So not looking pretty here.
No, I mean, it broke out around strong earnings, so it was looking really good. We saw this with a lot of high flyers, a lot of tech stocks. There seems to be some move out of medical stocks. Dexcom had a bad day, which is in that sort of in that same diabetes
Mhm.
space, but Massimo, which is out of that. There's just a lot of that, so it's not just those high flyers of software Fastly. There's just negative action. While this didn't get to a 7 to 8% loss, that's a pretty nasty reversal and a pretty
Mhm.
big drop. Probably, somebody experiencing that probably want to be getting out of that kind of stock.
Right. As you've been mentioning, along with the rest of the IBD Live team, this is not just limited to those software names, but growth in general and seeing the money really pivoting to value. Whether that's short lived or not is yet to be seen, but we're going to be taking a very close look, as we always do, at the broad market action and using that as our guide, along with those key buy and sell signals for individual stocks. It's always important, even if you think that it's still, for DocuSign or Zoom, that those stories are still very much intact. You have to be looking at what the chart is telling you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's more fun. It's more fun to talk about tech and medical stocks that are doing these cool things and these growth stories. But you're absolutely right. You have to be listening to what the market and the charts are showing.
All right. And you can be sure the conversation on this and more will continue tomorrow morning on IBD Live. It's our daily morning live stream where our experts are sharing their screens, breaking down the news of the day. Ed's always great about giving us a rundown of what's going on and putting everything into perspective, taking a look at actionable stocks and analyzing those setups for you on the fly. And it's a whole lot of fun.
Absolutely. We do have a lot of fun on the show and after on Twitter as well, I think.
Exactly. So make sure you're following us on Twitter as well as the rest of the IBD Live team. You can find all of our Twitter handles over at investors.com/live FAQ. And you can watch the show over at investors.com/IBD Live. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you.